Ah, ah, ah. This is how you should pronounce today's vowel, the doctor vowel. Ah. Hej och välkomna till Fun Swedish, vår YouTube-kanal. Hi and welcome to Fun Swedish, our YouTube channel. As you sure noticed by now, today we're going to talk about a Swedish vowel. The vowel ah, ah. Some of you might wonder, why is she screaming so much? Well, because you need to scream. You need to open your mouth when you do this vowel ah, ah. Ah is a tricky one. It's very easy to think that it is just an A, with some crap on the top, some dots that nobody knows why we put them there. But no, it's actually not like that. The A is its own letter in Swedish, so it's super important to not forget the dots on the top. So remember, the A is a complete different vowel from the A. Let's try to hear the difference. A, 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 A. Completely different, right? Maybe not completely, but it is a little bit, at least for a Swede. They can tell the difference. The letter A is kind of a mix between the the A, and the E, the Swedish E. So we kind of put them together and we make that the A in Swedish. Actually, if you say A, E in Swedish many times, it kind of becomes the A. In Swedish, we make this I sound, the A with 2 dots on the top. But actually, in some other Nordic languages, they still have the A and the E put together as the symbol, because that kind of represents this sound. I think it's a Danish that still uses this A symbol to make this A sound. In Swedish, we don't do it any longer. Instead, we put these 2 dots on the top of the A to make the A sound like it is. So now that you know that the A and the A is not the same vowel and not the same sound, then let's practice. How do you do this A then? Well, I would say that you should think that you're going to the doctor. Because when you go to the doctor, you kind of need to open your mouth a lot so they can, do this throat, what do you call it? Throat check or something like that. So you need to open your mouth a lot so that the doctor can see very well inside. And that's what you should do as well when you do the ah. Ah. So you see, perfect for the doctor. Ah. So think that you're going to the doctor. Ah. Good. That's how you're going to make the perfect ah sound. Going to the doctor. So that's why we're going to call this the doctor vowel. The ah is the doctor vowel. We often get the question from our students, how is the a different from the a? Well, for us in Swedish, there is a difference. The first thing is that the a is a front vowel because the sound kind of comes from the front of our mouth. On the other hand, the a is a back vowel, a, because the sounds come from the back. So that's the first thing to distinguish this. But also, look at my lip position. When I do the a, I do like this. I really open up everything. While on the other hand, when I do the it's more like I'm just putting down my jaw. It's kind of I'm seeing a cute puppy. But not with the Did you see? A big difference. So even if you can't hear it, at least you can see maybe my lips and my mouth, how it moves when I say these different vowels. All this is super important because if you mix the A with the A, then you're going to have a hard time. We're going to look at some examples where you can see and hear the difference between these two vowels, but in words. The first word we have is the word här. Här means here, like jag är här nu, I'm here now. On the other hand, we have the word har. Har means to have. It's important to not mix up these two words, här, here, and har, have. For example, if you want to tell a Swede, I'm here now, then you need to say jag är här nu, här. Because if you say jag är här nu, then you're going to make the Swede very confused because you're saying I am have now or I am has now. What? Va? Vad betyder det? What does that mean? Well, nothing. So you really need to say jag är här nu. Jag är här nu. I'm here now. So remember, do the when you say här. Another example, two words that are very easy to mix up are these two. Bad. Here I'm saying the Bad means berries. So if you forget the two dots, or if you pronounce this as an A, then you're saying bar. In Swedish, we say bar. So remember, bad berries, bar, bar. Bad bar, bad bar. Well, important. Actually, bad bar means, if you put them together, it also means something. It means laptop and bärbar dator. But anyway, here you can actually also hear how you pronounce it. Bärbar, bärbar. Even more important to not mix up the ä and the a is when you're talking about people. We have, for example, the Swedish name Per. It's kind of like a Swedish Peter, but it's another way to say it, and that is Per. Per. So here you need to really make the ä sound. Per, Per. Super important to pronounce this right and not pronounce it like par, because that means something else. Par means couple. So if you're saying, for example, jag dejtar Per, I'm dating Per, then you need to say Per, because if you say jag dejtar par, it sounds like you're saying I'm dating a couple or something like that. So people would think that you maybe have some kind of polyamorous relationship instead of saying that you're dating a guy called Per. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at more examples with words that have this letter ä. But before we do that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and put a like, because it really helps us do more videos for you, and it also helps other people find this video so that you can also learn some Swedish together with us and with you. So, snälla likea. Perfekt, bra. Då kan vi fortsätta. Then we can continue. Okay, back to the ä. We have, for example, the word we already mentioned before, här, here. Like, jag är här, I'm here. Or we have the word där, I'm there, där. And we have the word bär. This one is important because we eat a lot of berries. Bär means berries. So let's practice these three words again. Här, där, bär. Här, där, bär. Yes, sounds really good. Det låter jättebra. Fint. In all these words, we have a very long version of the ä. And this is because with just one consonant coming after. Actually, in all these words, it's an R coming after. And it's just one R. So that's why it's extra long. You need to say ä. So, där, här, bär. Yay! You're gonna hurt after saying this so much. Then we have words with a short version of the ä. For example, in the word äpple. Äpple is how we say apple in Swedish. And if you notice, the sound of the ä was completely different in this word. It doesn't only change from a long to a short sound, it's also a very different sound than the normal ä. It's kind of like, it sounds like a completely different vowel. It actually sounded more like an E sound, äpple. And this happens when we have more than one consonant coming after. Actually, we have two P's. So that's why it sounds more like an E sound. Very weird. Äpple. And since we are on the topic of fruits, let's compare some words with the long version and the short version of the ä. Like we just said, we have the word äpple. Äpple. It's written with an ä, but it has two consonants, and the ä kind of turns more to an E sound. Äpple. But then we have päron. Päron. This is the other fruit, the pear, I think it's called in English. So it should be a long version of the ä instead. Äpple, päron, äpple, päron. And in these two fruits, you can actually see that it doesn't sound at all like the same vowel. And again, it's very important to remember the long version, the ä, which happens with just one consonant coming after, and the short version, which is sound more like an E sound when you have two consonants coming after. So let's look at more examples with this short version of the ä, so more of the sound. We have, for example, the word vägg. Vägg is how we say wall in Swedish. Vägg. Another example is the word egg. Eggs. Actually, this one is written with an ä, but since we have two consonants coming after and two g's, it sounds like an e. And it actually sounds just like English. Egg. So, again, sum up this short version of the e. We have äpple, vägg, ägg. Äpple, vägg, ägg. Yeah. So now that you know the difference between the long version of the ä and the short version ä, then we can look at some examples when the meaning changes completely depending how you pronounce it, if you do the long version or the short version. The first example is this one, vägg. If you remember before, vägg means wall. But then on the other hand, we have this word, väg. Väg means road or street. And these two are very important to not mix up. Maybe you want to ask a Swede, where do you live or what street do you live on? Then you kind of need to say, vilken väg bor du på? Important to do the long version of the ä when you say this, because otherwise you're going to ask the Swede, vilken vägg bor du på? And that means, what wall do you live on? I mean, it works if you talk to a spider, but now you're talking to a Swede. So it's better to practice this long version of the ä, väg. Same thing if you're talking about yourself, if you want to say what street you live on. In general, in Swedish, we have two words for street, gatan eller vägen. That would basically mean the street or the road. It's the same kind of. Vägen maybe is also used a little bit metaphorical. What way, what road in life should I take? But anyhow, this is a long version of the ä, vägen. So, for example, if you live on Valhallavägen, which is actually a street in Swedish, the street of Valhalla, then you need to say a very long ä when you say it. Jag bor på Valhallavägen. So don't say väggen, because then you're talking about a wall. What kind of wall? Valhalla, what? No. Vägen, vägen. Or if you want to say there's a hole on the wall, then you need to say det finns ett hål i väggen. There's a hole on the wall. Det finns ett hål i väggen. And not det finns ett hål i vägen. Because that's when you're saying there's a hole on the road, on the street. But in this case you want to say in the wall. So det finns ett hål i väggen. Väggen. Remember, the ä sounds more like an e sound. Väggen. Good luck with these two. So, now we have come to a bonus part. This one is extra important if you want to learn the Stockholm accent, which is also the one I have because I'm from the capital of Sweden, Stockholm. So, what I taught you before is that the ä should sound like that, extra long, when we're just one consonant coming after. This works in most of the cases, but in Stockholm, unfortunately, we make things a little bit more complicated. Sometimes, in some words, we actually pronounce the ä like an e sound, even if just one consonant coming after. For example, if I want to introduce myself and I want to say I am Daniela, my name, then I would say, if I do the Stockholm accent, jag är Daniela. So instead of saying jag är, which is actually how the rest of the Swedes that are not from Stockholm talk, but not in Stockholm, we say more jag är, jag är. So you might notice this, that the är, which means I am, turns to an e sound instead, är. Jag är, I am, jag är. Very weird. But however, not all Stockholmers do it either. It's a little bit of a generation thing. Some generations, especially the older generation that come from a certain area in Stockholm, Södermalm, they have a tendency to do more of this E sound all the time as soon as they see an A with two dots. Some of them, like my dad, he's very Stockholmer and a very Stockholm Söder accent. He would say, for example, äta instead of saying äta. So äta means to eat. For example, if I want to say I want to eat, there are two ways of saying this. The proper way should be jag vill äta. But in Stockholm we might say jag vill äta. Äta. So you see, it sounds more like an e sound, even if it's just one consonant coming after the ä, and it should be long really, but not in Stockholm because we are different. So äta. And another example, räkor. Räkor is how we say shrimps. So a Stockholmer from Södermalm would say räkor. Jag vill äta räkor. That's really the Stockholm accent. But in the rest of Sweden it works differently. They actually follow more the rules we just taught you in this video. So good to know these different dialectal things, and that goes to almost all pronunciation rules. Toppen, bra! Så, det var allt för idag. Hoppas att du tycker den här videon är bra. I hope you think this video is good. Är bra. Tack så jättemycket. Glöm inte bort att subscribe och likea vår video. Don't forget to subscribe and like our video. Tack så jättemycket. Vi ses nästa vecka. Hej då!